Welcome back to be with me for a little chat. My name is Maria Elena, and we're going to continue enjoying dinner 300 years before Christ in lovely Athens in a company of Socrates and his best friends. So we find ourselves in Mr. Cephalus' house. It's a lovely environment, lovely food, wine, the best of breads and cheeses and what have you. And Socrates always likes to kind of trigger some interesting conversations. So he decides to get in touch with a concept. And so he chooses his old friend, Mr. Cephalus, to trigger the momentum. Hey, Cephalus, what do you think is justice? And Cephalus, as we may recall, said, oh, that's a very simple thing. Justice is to pay your bills and return what you had borrowed. Well, Socrates says, for you, my friend, a rich fellow, to pay your bills offers you no effort. Now, returning what you had borrowed. In our case, we used the analogy, the example that Plato used, which was borrowing a knife. Then using it, forgetting to return it, the owner of the knife comes, I want my knife, and of course, I am wondering, hey buddy, why do you want this knife for? I am sick and tired of my neighbor and his dogs. What are you going to do? Are you going to kill the dogs? No! I'm going to get rid first of the owner. Wait a minute. Would I give a knife to a madman? And nowadays could be a shotgun. Who knows? So we don't. Because we would be actually accessory to a horrible crime. So, Polemarchus is not very happy with Socrates' approach towards his dad. And so he said, oh, come on, Socrates, taking advantage of my dad. I'm going to tell you what is justice. Justice is to be good to your friends and make sure to harm your enemy. And Socrates says, bravo! But bravo! Only 50%. Because do we really know who are our friends? Have you ever been betrayed by someone that you consider your best friend? Imagine that. Two best friends meet a girl. The girl likes one of them tremendously, but the other also liked the girl. And the lady that pursues the friendship with the one she liked first, and they liked each other, so they continue. The relationship grows better and more beautiful. They decided to get married, and they did. Now, the other friend just kind of kept on the side, so congratulating them and good for you and all of that kind of stuff. But eventually, the gentleman that just got married said, hey, I am looking for a new job, and you know me better than anybody. Would you please write me a letter of recommendation? And so he did, and sent it to the place. And our friend didn't get the job. So could you send it now to this other company? And our friend didn't get the job either. So he went through that episode of being interviewed, qualified, but not getting hired. So somehow he became curious and went to the court and asked if he could be allowed to read the letters of recommendation. The judge granted that permission, and so he did. To his surprise, his best friend was trashing him completely. So much so, that's why he wasn't finding a job. His best friend. Be good to your friends. That was his best friend. And by the way, that happened a few decades ago. Ever since then, you actually have the right to see letters of recommendation. I want to make sure that we don't find a betrayer. Yeah, it happens. And so, what about the enemies? Well, do we really know who are our enemies? Have you ever been helped by someone that you actually thought, why would that person help me? Why would that person help me? That was my case. A fellow met me at the university, asked me what is it that I was going to do, and I said, when I graduate with my degree in philosophy, I want to teach. And he said, well, find me again as you graduate, and I'll help you. And I never saw this fellow ever again. Time went by. I managed to graduate. I went to the cafeteria, and kind of like, is that him? Do I remember him well? I decided to get closer and closer. Did he really mean it? Why would he be so kind? And I just thought something was not. Did he want something else, Anyway, to my amazement, the guy said, oh my God, this is you. Did you ever graduate? Yes, I did. Oh, well, talk to Dr. So-and-so and ask him to send you, tell him that you got his name through me, and take it from there. Well, by golly, I did. And guess what? That was indeed my first part-time class of someone that I didn't consider him my friend, and certainly not even my enemy, but I didn't have any expectations. That the idea that I will help you just came and left. And so we really don't know. So to actually say that justice is to be good to your friends and evil to your enemies is pretty weak. So at that point, Mr. T, I call him T because his name is Thrasymachus, T-H, Thrasymachus, says, Socrates, I'm going to tell you for once and for all, what is justice, buddy? It's a very simple formula, very simple. Might is right. If you are the mighty one, you're the strongest. You dominate, you lead. You grab whatever you want. You confiscate. You get more money than anything. You don't pay taxes. You get away with everything because might is right. And so Socrates struggled through that one. And so, of course, Socrates found a way of not liking it because even the example I gave you was the case of a doctor whose relative has been pretty wounded, nearly killed by a criminal. But the criminal, when they were trying to catch him, he got pretty wounded. And so now he is the doctor to actually save that guy in order to have him be judged. That's the doctor's opportunity. The doctor could actually finish him completely. But what is his obligation? To take care of the ill. And so that's what he has to do. In the case of a captain, the captain and a big sea ship, he is the mighty one. But if that ship begins to sink, everyone is to be saved, and he's the last one to abandon the sinking ship. So there we have it. So Thrasymachus kind of loses. And at that point, Glaucon, who happens to be one of Plato's brothers, comes in and says, Socrates, I'm going to continue pursuing the Thrasymachus idea. All right, let's continue with Thrasymachus' idea. Well, let's put it this way. Uh, Imagine that there is an earthquake. There are shepherds around there. One of the shepherds gets removed from the little group of 3, and he wanders around. The earthquake happens. A big hole, like the earth sinks, and he is totally confused and amazed and doesn't know what to do. But as he looks at this huge hole on the ground, he noticed that there is something in there, and the earth is not shaking anymore. So very slowly he approaches and gets a little down, and to his amazement, he sees a gigantic bronze horse with a huge door. Why wouldn't he walk in? So he tippy-toes, gets in, and stumbles against something. What's this? What's this? And so he feels it, and it's kind of soft. So goes down and, touches and realizes, this is a guy. Oh my God, is he dead? Is he alive? What shall I do? I better find out. So he grabs one hand and moves it. And then grabs the other hand and moves it. When this other hand went by, he notices that in the hand of that character there was a ring. Well, why not? The ring looked pretty good. He removes it, puts it on his finger, and leaves. And I'm not saying a thing. He gets with his buddies. Oh my God, did you feel that earthquake? Ooh, thank goodness. This is a pretty rocky environment, and we are fine. So we had here some liquor, and to calm our nerves, we're going to play some cards. Come on, join us. So they're going to play some cards. And what's his name is totally distracted with the adventure and the ring, and so he begins to do this kind of a thing. And then his friends right in front of him say, where did he go? Hey, where are you? Where did you go? Come on. Oh, well. And so he says, I'm here. Can you see me? They don't. They don't hear it. They don't see him. He gets a little more nervous. Flips the stone back. And they said, hey, come on. Stop playing games. We need you. This is a game of 4. Yeah. Well, before you know, he realizes he actually possesses a magic ring. So with that in mind, he goes to the next door county, seduces the queen, and both of them become a team, and they kill, of course they have an affair, and they kill the king, and overnight he becomes a king himself. So now having a magic ring, and this magic ring, by the way, will make you so invisible that no one ever will photograph you, videotape you, have the slightest idea of your presence, and you can do anything you want. I'll leave you with that. What would you do? What would you do? Yes. If I go to the supermarket and there's a bunch of grapes and they're absolutely beautiful, but they're very expensive. And besides, they may be sour. They look beautiful, but, well, what if they're actually excellent grapes. Oh my God, but the price, they're out of their mind. Wait a minute. Did I walk in a thief because I stole a grape? Or did I become a thief? Either way, by the way, it doesn't matter. I still stole the grape. If I walk a thief, well, shame on me. If I became a thief, more shame on me, because I know what is right. It is at that moment when we have a chance to actually steal, when we have to refrain ourselves and do what is right. And that takes a lot of certainty and self-control. What Socrates is going to call very soon temperance. Temperance. When the best part of me suppresses the worst, I am the master of my soul. That's temperance. Well, but Glaucon is not through. And he says, besides, if you do horrible things, you still have another chance to get justice. Pray to the gods, for heaven's sakes. And in their mighty strength and, magnanimous sense of duty, you will be forgiven. Oh, well, that is lovely. So I can do as much as I want and offer some sacrifices. To whom? Well, in those days, these folks had lived already 600 years of stories about the gods, males and females, god and goddesses, from Homer's literature, the Iliad and the Odyssey. So, to offer sacrifices to the gods was a common thing, no big deal. Anyway, and so we leave that kind of environment, and I'm going to check my little outline. I have to check in here and tap over here. And so Plato decided then, Plato decides to write down. Plato's the writer. Socrates is the character. Just like Shakespeare is the writer, and someone like Hamlet and Othello are characters. All right? So, I want to straighten up this business. So back to our story. Socrates decides to take over and explain some weakness of what's happening. Okay? So he said, we're going to have to definitely teach everybody to be temperate. I already used the word temperance. And for that, let's see. We're going to have to remember, actually before this time, Adeimantus also adds something, and they actually spoke about if our ideal state becomes so incredibly good and starts growing larger than we ever imagined, and we may find the need to actually confiscate the neighbor's land, or better yet, because our country is a model, the neighbors may want to confiscate part of our land. And for that, we're going to have to defend ourselves. So we need a guardian class. We certainly need a guardian class. The guardian class is going to have to be beautifully educated. So, from a very young age, okay, we're going to teach all the little children lovely literature. All the Homer's stories that have horrible situations that terrify the children will not be mentioned. The fables were kind of written during those days, and the fables are very cute, and they always have the moral of the story. So that's what Socrates is after, fable kind of literature. And so they decided that they're going to do that. So the guardians are going to be exquisitely taught. And then from there, what are we going to do with little children? We'll continue teaching them very cautiously. They will not be given terrifying stories. I mentioned already the horrible story of Hansel and Gretel, where at the end, the little children end up killing the witch, steal jewelry, go to father's home, father accepts the jewelry, and they live happily ever after. Imagine that. Little children with that background to live happily ever after. That's awful. So Socrates does not want to have that kind of upbringing for the children. Therefore, terrifying stories will be pushed away, and only good, solid, moral stories. Now, at the right age, these little children, I imagine them teenagers, they will go and watch warriors in the arena just kind of play against other, or the guy against the beast, and things of that sort. And we're going to keep an eye on these little kids. How many of them can take that kind of violence as they just see it? Well, I'm one of those that if I'm watching a film and there's an awful lot of violence and blood and murder and this, either I close my eyes or I just change it to another channel. I can't take it. All of that is I know it's fiction, I know it's a world of make-believe, but it makes an impression. And those impressions are very real. Especially, I know better, but in the mind of the children can be a disaster. And so they're going to keep an eye on how many little children, oh no, I don't want to see it. And how many of them, go get it, yes, you can do it. They will be selected as the young apprentice to a guardian class, because the state is going to have to defend itself. So in case the neighbors want to confiscate and take a piece of our land, we need a guardian class. So this guardian class, we are going to call them auxiliaries, okay? And these auxiliaries may actually end up becoming rulers. We don't have to keep track of their upbringing. And so to make sure that this, you know how nowadays it's pretty clear, most countries have the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class. Oh, if we talk to a sociologist, there is lower high and lower medium and lower lower. Now, let's just make 3 social classes. And it's very difficult to actually move from one to the other. My suggestion is that one way to climb the ladder of success is through education. Don't give up. Continue studying. Go back to school. And if you find yourself, when you are in school, extremely frustrated, believe me, you are climbing a ladder, and what helps you go one step to another step is a hydraulic pump known as frustration. If you are frustrated, you're making progress. If you are not frustrated, you begin to walk in flat land. And we can walk in flat land and feel very comfortable and relaxed. This is life, you know. But eventually, that flat land starts descending, and we fall into less than, when we could help it. Education is the savior. Another interesting statistics, the graduate class is one of the biggest minorities in the United States. The graduate class. Do you ever see a foreign person getting out of a Mercedes-Benz, and you could tell this person comes from way on the other side somewhere? Well, don't doubt that that gentleman has a doctorate degree in some science, is totally respected, and makes wonderful money. Why are we hiring foreigners? Because we don't have enough high qualified intelligentsia. So get with it. Don't give up. And don't let go of frustration. If you're frustrated, you're making progress. There you are. And that's kind of a frustration. I gotta save money. I can't buy this, I can't buy that, but you're saving money. So that frustration of saving money is actually giving you a momentum. Trust yourselves. Excellent. And so we want to make sure that our children, our students, don't have any corrupting tendencies. We're going to watch them very closely. You have, for example, there are some magnificent doctors who survived a horrible illness, and then they went to school, went to medical school. They chose a specialty on that horrible illness that almost killed them, and they become a top experts. And they make the best of the doctors because they suffered the consequences of that horrible illness. And so, welcome doctors. If they have crossed weakness of their body, and they have the strength of the mind, welcome home. Now, on the other hand, the judges. If the judges have been perverted, have broken the law, are felons, they are not to do any judging because they are already corrupted. And that kind of a mind is very dangerous. So that's the reason we are going to educate our little children in this magnificent utopia. This is Plato's dream, to come up and write a kind of a constitution that actually spells beautifully how to run a whole republic. It is so perfect that that's why it's known as utopia, the ideal state. So we continue. So now that we have a guardian class, well, the guardian class is not going to be doing any plumbing in his house, any gardening in his house, any carpentry, not at all. He's not going to become a chef also on the side. And so he is not going to be doing any selling, any buying. He belongs to the military class, the guardian class, and that's all he's going to do. So now we need the rest of the community to support this business of everybody and their friends. Everybody and their friends. Now, the guardians are going to have very special, guarded, cautious. Sometimes my lovely Mexican accent crosses my path and I, boom, stumble. So I find another word. They're going to have to be cautious. And so the guardians don't become disillusioned, and they feel honored to be that kind of a society. Meanwhile, the rest of the society will be allowed to have their own private little house, their own little families, their own job, which, by the way, if a gentleman is going to be a plumber, his business is the plumbing. So he is not to become a butcher or a carpenter or a salesman, because he would be distracted of his trade. Yes, thank goodness I have loved teaching all my life. At one time during my youthful years, I had a chance to actually work for a very profitable company. But I told the person that was hiring me, I love teaching, and I thank you very much. Stick to your teaching. I am very glad. And believe me, philosophy and teaching must be my business, and as you see, still is, because I have you in front of me, and it delights me. It enchants me. You're my listener. I am trying to impress you. Because our knowledge is a process of impressions. Yes, physical and ideal. I'm giving you ideal impressions of an ideal utopia. Isn't that wonderful? But Socrates says, to keep our society and harmony, we're going to have to come up with a story that they can all buy. In my case, I was born in a little town of the state of Puebla. The name of my little town is San Martin Texmelucan. Do I remember that? Of course not. And why am I so serious saying that's where I was born? Because my parents told me, and I believed it. What if they lied to me? It's too late. That kind of lie is now my truth. So in our next visit, in Mr. Cephalus' lovely dinner, we're going to discover all about this lie. You people are magnificent. Especially you, my friend, right over there. See you next time. Bye-bye.